Boa noite, pessoal. Tudo jóia? A gente tá começando daqui a pouquinho. E antes da gente começar, a gente precisa fazer uns testes aqui com o pessoal do online, né? Quem tiver no online aí, seria legal vocês sinalizarem no chat se vocês estão ouvindo bem. E hoje, na verdade, a gente vai fazer um shift aí na linguagem, né? A gente vai começar a falar em inglês, porque a ideia hoje é que seja um evento internacional. So I will switch to English and try to keep it here. We have Bruno Souza will be talking about the skills and visibility, 3 steps to become an international developer. And we have also Frederic Descamps. He came with lots of things from MySQL gifts. I take one, one for me. And if you would like, he will be talking about it, right? It is each of you can pick it later, and then we're gonna have also Víctor Orozco from a Java champion from Victor. You were from so Central America, but it was Guatemala. Yeah, I was trying to remember here. So he's from Guatemala, and he's gonna talk about DevSecOps, Terraform, and Java. So I hope you are all up to date with English. If you're not, you should be. And so I totally recommend you to be working in and take this as an opportunity to just exercise also and bring your questions. And yeah, so Luis, how was the audience in the online? They're all fine with the audio. They're could listen. Great. And since this event is organized by SouJava, there is the Java user group here in Brazil, the largest one. I would like to ask anyone here if who is already a member of the SouJava group. Can you raise your hands, please? Cool, cool. Sócio apoiador. Sócio apoiador, yeah, member, right? Okay. And yeah, if you are not, and you're missing a big chance to be connected with all these experts and references from the Java world, the Java ecosystem. It's a very rich community, and we do a lot of this kind of events and a lot more. And we do mentorship, we do some other events to help you get better and better in your career, grow in your career. So yeah, if you have any questions, you would like to be to hear more about our initiatives, please take your time. After event, we're gonna have a nice time to networking, and we can talk a lot. I also invite you, if you would like to be, if you're looking, if you're who here is new on the development board with Java. Anyone that is, you're of course you're not, Frederick. Really? But anyone else? You are studying and just want to start your professional journey in the development field. Anyone that is, everyone is already a senior level developer. Yes, senior level developer. No, you are a mid-level. Cool. Anyone mid-level developers? Excellent, excellent. So here also, since you're going to be connected with other Java developers, it's a high chance to have opportunities. Also, if you're looking after some new opportunities, I also have some at where I work. If you would like to hear more about, you can reach me in the network time. So please feel free to talk with me later on. Okay. So how about Bruno is asking again about who is a SouJava member in the group, the sócio apoiador. How can I say sócio apoiador in sócio apoiador? Okay. What? Supporting member. Okay, thank you. Supporting member. Who is supporting member? Okay, supporting member for member. I think I see more hands raised. More people? No? Okay, thank you. Bruno will be uh, every sporting member will in every event. We bring something to the sporting member. So some gifts from Bruno Souza. So yeah, from the community. So yeah, Larry will be giving away some gifts, right? Excellent. So I think we're gonna have all set up in a few minutes, and we're gonna start with Bruno. We're gonna start with you, right? The first one. Okay, cool. So, any questions from the audience while we are talking here, getting things done, things ready? No? All cool with the English? Good. Okay. Awesome. I don't know if you know that that would be an international event, but I hope it's okay for everyone in the audience. Any questions from the audience? Oh, fine. Okay. I will just wait then. That's okay. All good to go. So thanks a lot. Let's give a warm welcome to Bruno Souza, our first presenter. Do you want microphone?
Hello, everyone. Everyone is sleeping already. Come on. Hello, everyone. Yeah, very good. Okay. So this is an interesting thing that we're doing here, right? So we're doing international calls. Last 2 weeks ago, we did a full international track at the developers conference. Was anyone there? Yes. Okay. Few. Okay. Cool. Thanks for being there. So was it good? Was it good track? So we had lots of international speakers, right? And the importance of this, we understand it's kind of complicated. English is complicated. Not everyone is able to participate, but we need to do more of that, right? When we have this chance of an international speaker that comes here, right, we need to do more of that. And a lot of times what happens is that the international speaker comes and he cannot participate on anything, right? He doesn't know who is talking. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know who he can talk to, right? Because it's everything's in Portuguese, right? And so what we're going to be doing, this is the first time we're doing this, and what we're going to be doing. So this time we have, two international speakers and me, right? But what we're going to do is that we're going to do more of that. We're going to do more, content in English, right? Because we want to help you become an international developer. The more you can become an international developer, the more that you can show what you're doing worldwide, the better for you and the better for all of us, right? Because you don't need to leave the country to be an international developer. One thing that lots of people tell me is that, oh, where are you? And I say, I'm here in Brazil. Oh, but don't you live outside? No, I don't. I live it here. I live in Brazil. I do all my work from here. Everything that I do is international, but I do my work from here. Everyone here can do the same. You can build your career, an international career, without leaving the country. Right? I have a mentee of mine that he lives in Aracaju, in the beach, right? Very cool place. And he makes $120,000 a year. Right? Nice. Nice. Right? That's a salary of a senior developer in the US. Right? There are people that make more there also, right? But it's a good salary. Right? And so you can do this from here. And that's a big advantage. And it's an advantage for us too, for Brazil. If you can bring resources here, it's positive because we invest here. Make sense? So we're going to do this more and more. So I'd like to thank Luis, because Luis is the one that said, I'm going to do everything in English, right? And that's it, right? He didn't ask anyone. He just said, I'm going to do it, and he did it, and that's perfect. Thanks, man. All right. So, yeah. All right. So, oh, I forgot to press play. So that's not very good, right? Okay, good. Okay. So, all right. So here's what I want to do really quick. I want to very briefly talk about the reputation formula. Because if you want to be an international developer, you have to build a reputation, your international reputation. So I'm going to talk briefly about the reputation formula, and I'm going to show you the 3 things that are going to get your reputation in an amazing place. Okay. Today I'm going to show you my secrets. I'm going to be very fast because I don't have a lot of time. So can we put this screen there? All right. Let me see how I'm going to do this from here. Easier. Get it here. I think that's better. All right. So, it's a nice reputation, right? You start from a blank screen, right? All right. So here is what Heinz Kabutz, a top Java champion, he says, and I think it's amazing, right? If you position yourself as an expert, you get called to solve the most complex problem, the hardest problems. And when you solve the hardest problems, you become the experts. We tend to think that we can only go and do the important things when we know a lot. But that's not how it works. You go do something and then you learn how to do it, right? And the interesting thing is that lots of people are afraid to do the hardest problems because I'm not an expert yet. Let the experts handle that. But in reality, the hardest problems are not solved by one person. They're solved by a group. So you have to be part of the group. You have to be the one that's being part of the group that's being solving the hardest problems. That's why that's why I want all of you to be international developers. There's a law in computers that I love that I think is very important for our careers. It's called Joy's Law, after Bill Joy, founder of Sun, right? So Bill Joy is very important for the Java community because he was the guy that built the Spark ship. He was the guy that created Solaris Unix system. He was the guy that wrote the first Java specification, right? So Bill Joy is the founder of Sun. He had this phrase that he used to say, this Joy's Law, that says, no matter who you are, the smarter people don't work for you. They work for someone else. Because the idea is, over there is larger than over here, right? No matter who you work for, you can work for Oracle, you can work for IBM, you can work for the big banks, but the smart people are always outside. Why? Because outside is larger than inside. And that's our life too. In our careers, outside is larger than inside. So if you want to be an amazing developer, you got to be part of the group from the top companies. Not the top companies, but from the smarter people. You have to be part of, the group that solves the hard problems. And for you to be part of the group that solves the hard problems, over there is larger than over here. That's why we have to be international. That's why we have to be everywhere. Because outside of Brazil is larger than Brazil. And one of the problems, there's many, many countries that, that are international because they have strong English, for example. Brazil, because Brazil is so large, and because Brazil is the largest Portuguese-speaking country in the world, right? So almost maybe 90% of everyone that speaks Portuguese is here, right? Or something like this. So because of that, we tend to think that we can just speak Portuguese and we still have a huge market. It is true, we still have a huge market, but if you can get the international market, this is even better. Make sense? And so how do you reach this market? You have to build a reputation. And reputation is a formula. Now, this is career reputation, right? Because there's other kinds of reputations too. But that's career reputation, right? Career reputation is a formula. And so that means there are things that you have to increase to build a reputation. And there are things you have to decrease to increase your reputation. Okay? So the formula is very, very simple. No, very simple. Here's the reputation formula. Vivascrid divided by Emden. Right? Very simple. Right? Everyone memorized this already? Yeah? Okay, actually, people complain, Bruno, this is too complicated. I don't know what that is. And so I changed the letters around a little bit, and it became like this. Better? Divide by MD. No, not better. So I changed the words a little bit, and then it became like this. Reputation. So that's the reputation formula, right? There's 7 things you got to do. You got to increase to increase reputation, and 3 things you got to decrease to increase reputation, right? So today I don't have time to actually go over each one, so I'm probably gonna do everyone at once. So here's the reputation formula. Yeah, now is a good time to take a picture. It's gonna take a picture right here. Yes, you can take a picture right now and post online. Yes, okay, perfect. Yeah, the reputation formula, right? And for each start your reputation, here's a good trick. There's my Twitter right here, right? So this is a good trick. You take a picture, you post online right now, okay? And you mark me. You add me on Twitter, because then I'm going to receive a notification and I'm going to repost whatever you post. So then that increases your reputation, right? Because you gain a little bit of visibility, right? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about all the things. So what I want to show you is that's a reputation form. Those are the things you need to do to increase reputation, the things you need to decrease to increase your reputation. But I want to also show you how to apply this in the real life. Okay, so I'm going to go really quick here. First thing, actually, let me start. Yeah, so first thing is responsibility, right? For you to build a reputation, you have to take responsibility. Now, responsibility is leadership. If you are responsible for something, you become a leader of something. So you start by being responsible for your career, right? Instead of, oh yes, my boss doesn't want me to do it. Oh, my company is not the right place. Or my wife or my husband doesn't let me do this. My friend didn't call me. It's not about them. It's about you. It's your responsibility. So what you can do to grow your career, what you can do to do the things that need to be done. And responsibility is very important, because if you want to get a big reputation, go work on the most important projects you can, right? Take the biggest and most complex problems you can solve. Lots of people are afraid of getting on complex problems. So just look around and see the biggest things you can do and go do that. And lots of people tell me, yeah, Bruno, but in my company, they don't let me do it because they choose what needs to be done. And so responsibility is also about autonomy. You have to get autonomy. And autonomy is a very, very weird thing, because autonomy, either you have it or you cannot ask for it. Because if you ask for it, it's proof that you don't have it. And if you don't have, you don't deserve to have. Autonomy, you don't ask, you take it, you conquer, you fight for it, right? So be the person that says, I'll do it, because that's important. And we see this all the time. We see in a meeting, the boss comes along and say, hey, you know what? We're going to implement this new technology here in the company. We want to do this MySQL database here, right? And, and we want to do this. And then this guy here, he looks and says, man, that would be awesome. That would be amazing. I really want to participate in this, but I don't know MySQL. So that's not for me. And then this guy here says, oh man, that's amazing. I really want to do this, but I don't know MySQL. Hey, I'll do it. It's the same problem, just different altitudes. Now, who gets the work? He does. Who learns MySQL? He does. And he thinks, oh man, if I knew MySQL, I would have done that. Because he thinks that he knows just because he said, I'll do it. Right? So get yourself on the hard problems. Because if you don't get yourself in the hard problems, no one will. Okay? That's what responsibility is all about. Now, you do this responsibly, right? You don't go get a problem that's it's like way beyond your capabilities, of course, right? But even a problem that's way beyond your capabilities, you can be part of the team doing it. Make sense? All right, number 2, expertise. Expertise about skill. And expertise, you only get expertise by doing. And here's one problem that developers have. Developers are, how do we say, they love to learn. Is that how I say it? No, they're addicted to learn, right? Developers are addicted to learn. I'm going to prove you that you're addicted to learn, right? So who here has something that you wanted to learn? There's a technology or tool or something you wanted to learn, and you bought a book to learn that, but you never opened the book. All right. So you're addicted to learn, right? You know? So that's what we do. We invest. We say, oh, I'm going to learn everything. You just want to learn. Here, learn is not the goal. The goal is to acquire expertise. And expertise we only acquire by doing. So the goal is to do. Go do things and not learn things. Right? When I say this, people say, no, Bruno, that's not how it works. So, Fred, right? So Fred came here. You came from the US? From Belgium. So Fred came from Belgium, and he brought me a gift, right? He brought me a game. And he gave me, Fred's kind of an old guy like me. So he gave me a CD with the game, right, Fred? Right? So I'm here just waiting to get home to experiment this new game. So I want to get home, and I want to get there, and I want to read the manual. Right? That's not how we do it. You get home, you got to read the manual, no? What do I do then? I go play. Just go play, even if I don't know how to do it. Yeah. And then what happens? I do what? Learn by doing what? By playing, right? I learn by doing it, right? And when there's something that I don't know, what do? I look at your manual? No, I don't. If there's something that I don't know how to do, what do? I figured out there's a good one, or Google it, right? Go to YouTube and see someone else doing it, right? That's how we learn. We learn by doing. And that's how we do. Any creative things, and software development is a creative thing, any creative things, any soft skill, and by the way, I'm not going to go into this a lot, right? But let me tell you this. Lots of people are afraid of soft skills. But let me tell you a thing that you should know. Software development is a soft skill. Right? So people ask me, Bruno, should I learn soft skills? Well, software development is a soft skill. Any soft skill like software development, any creative skill like software development, you only learn by doing. So expertise is to do things. Now, here's the thing. If the goal is to have expertise on doing things, it takes more time to do than to read. Right? So then what people think is that, oh, so Bruno, how can I learn? How can I do everything? You can't. That's why you have to have a clear purpose. You have to have a clear focus. I got an email yesterday. I was gonna answer this in my newsletter, but I didn't do it yet. But I got an email yesterday, someone asking, should I be a generalist or should I be a specialist? Let me tell you the thing. You are software developers. Less than 1/4 of 1% of the population are software developers. So you already are an amazing specialist, right? For whatever you do in your life in software development, you're already a specialist. So embrace that. Embrace your specialty, right? Find your clear focus, find your clear purpose, and go do things that matter instead of just learning lots of things. Purpose is fundamental because it's with purpose that you have focus, that people join you, that people believe in you, that you believe in what people are doing. Make sense? Then, uplift, right? You know, in the original reputation form, this was being a giver. Uplift everyone around you. Help others. If you want to build a reputation, you have to uplift others. You have to help others. You have to work with other people. Because the more people that you help, the more your reputation grows. Right? When I said everyone here that Luis just said, we're going to do this in English, you guys clapped. Why? Why are you clapping for him? He has an issue, but was that what he did was helpful to you? Yes, right? You know, you're having some content in English because Luis did that. So he helped you by doing what he did. Now, you can do the same for everyone around you. You know, you can help your friend to improve his English by coming to work and say, guys, you know, every week we're going to have one day we just speak English. You can help your friends by getting a new job by telling him, you know what, I'm going to show you how to do software development the right way. You know, you can come here and come all the way from Belgium to come here to give a talk to us so we can learn MySQL. You can help others. Go do that as much as you can. The more people you help, the more reputation you have. And it only works if you take action. So taking action is fundamental, right? It's not about thinking. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make, is they keep thinking, and they have the idea that one day, when they have all their thinking the right way, they're going to be able to do something. And that's not how it works. Now, let me tell you this. That's not how your brain works. We think that our brains work like this. I want to get my phone. So now I'm going to go there and get my phone. That's how we think. That you first think about what you want and then you're going to do. But that's not how the brain works. The brain's like this. I'm getting my phone, so now I want to get my phone. The brain works based on action and not on thinking. Make sense? This is so powerful that even our vision, you know, everyone's talking about AI, right? So AI has recognized objects. You know, you have all the AIs. Oh, that's a chair. You know, that's a backpack. That's a phone. That's a chair, right? So when you look at this thing here, is this a chair? Is this a chair? No. It's more like a table, right? Is this a chair? They're pretty similar, right? Both are white. They have legs. Do you know how we know the difference between a chair and a table? Because we look at it and we know a chair is a place I sit. We don't care how many legs it has. We don't care what color it is. We don't even care the shape it is. You know, you guys are sitting in a chair right there that has no legs. We know it's a chair because it's a place that we sit. We know it's a table because it's a place we put something on top of. Our brains recognize things on the action we can do with it. That's why AI has a problem recognizing things, because AI doesn't do anything. Right? AI looks at something and he has to define, oh, it's a chair because it looks like a chair. But that's not how we think. That's not how our brain recognizes things. So taking action, guys, is amazingly important because everything you do is about taking action. Okay? And then you have to have autonomy. I jumped the gun here and talk about autonomy all the way in the back, right? But autonomy is amazing, fundamental, right? You know, it's you being able, autonomy is you having the ability of decide what you're going to do. And you have to understand where you have autonomy and where you don't have autonomy. Let me give you an example. A few weeks ago, I was getting ready for TDC. Then I was talking to a friend of mine, and my friend said, oh, I really wish I could come to TDC, but my boss would never let me. and asking him, do you ask your boss? No, I didn't, but I know he's not going to let me. And I asked him, do you have autonomy to decide to go to TDC? He said, no, of course I don't. I don't have autonomy. I have to ask my boss. I said, okay. So if you don't have autonomy to decide to go to TDC, you also don't have autonomy to decide to not go. Right? Because if you are just decide, I'm not going to go, you have autonomy to decide. But if you don't have autonomy, you should ask. If you can't say, I'm going, who here has to ask a permission for the boss to come here? To come here. Yes, you makes lots of sense, right? You had to ask your boss to come here today? Yes? Okay. So they choose. So you don't have autonomy to come here by yourself. Everyone else has, because that's out of work. So you can just come. You have to travel, right? So you have to ask you have to ask for permission, right? That's great. So, so if you don't have to ask your boss to come, you also don't have to ask him to not come. If you decide not to come, you don't come, right? So the same thing for the events. If you don't have autonomy to say, I'm going, go ask your boss no matter what. Let him say, no, you're not going. Because the moment your boss says, no, you're not going, he knows, man, what's your name? Daniel. Hey, Daniel, how you doing? He knows Daniel wants to go. He knows Daniel is interested on the event. He knows Daniel wants more than what just he's doing right now. So even if he says no, he's thinking, oh, man, not this time, Daniel, next year. So go ask. Now, the things that you have autonomy, don't ask, right? Because if you have autonomy, you make a decision based on your responsibility, on the ability, on what's better for the company. Autonomy is not, I'm going to do whatever I want. Autonomy is part of, I'm responsible for what I do. Make sense? All right. And I said I'm not going to have time to go for all of them, but I did. So now I don't have time. So trust is the base of everything that we do is trust. And trust requires visibility. If I don't know who Daniel is, how can I trust him? So I need to have you need to be visible so I can trust you. Okay? So those are the 7 things you got to increase your reputation. And the 3 things, the I, don't be the I, me person. Right? This everyone knows exactly who this person is, right? You have friends of yours, you have people in your work that you cannot stand talking to them because they're it's always about them. Everything they say is what I did, what I how good I am, et cetera, et cetera. So don't be that person. No one likes that person. You have a terrible reputation. Don't lie. Right? Always speak the truth, or at least don't lie. Lies destroy reputation so much that's squared. And don't be the negative person, right? Don't be the person that nothing's gonna work, everything's gonna be bad. That the boss is never gonna let us. Don't be that person spreading gossip in the company. Don't be that person. No one wants that person in the company. No one that wants that person around. You can stand if it's a good friend of yours from childhood, for example, but that's not the person you want to be around. Okay, so now all those things here, they match. If you are a little bit negative, right, but you have amazing responsibility and everyone trusts you and take lots of actions, those things balance out a little bit. Okay, so now really quick here, let me talk about the 3 things you can do for your reputation. Right, first things. Oh, that's my book, by the way. So if anyone wants, my book talks about everything I talked here. The book talks about, right? So if you come here to this QR code, you can get the first chapter for free. All right? Okay, so now everyone's taking picture. I'm not going to. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. Yeah, you can take a picture. No problem. So this book, let me tell you this. This book was written with Heather Vancouver. She is the head of the JCP, the Java Community Process, one of the most important organizations in the development world, right? Because the JCP defines the Java platform. one of the most important platforms in the history of development, right? So, and Heather it's a person who knows a lot about skills, about reputation, all that. Okay, cool. Everyone got it? Now, yeah. Oh, and Heather's your boss. Okay, that's why she talking to me that you were coming. All right, I didn't realize that. Okay, so Heather, yes. So Heather, let me tell you a funny story then about MySQL. So you guys, I'm not sure who's gonna get this, right? It's gonna be like a giveaway. I don't know exactly how it's gonna be, but there's this little the MySQL dolphin, right? Dolphin. So one day I'm in the US and Heather comes to me with one of these and says, "Hey Bruno, can you take this back to Brazil?" I say, "Yeah, sure, I can just put it in my bag. But there's a little bit more of that." And then I go to her office and she has like a huge box of those things here. And then she has this huge one, like about this big, and says, "We need to take this big one here too," right? So I got a guy from Oracle to bring the big one, and I brought maybe like 100 of those small ones. Every I could fit in my luggage to bring for you guys here. So yeah, so Had's a good friend. We do lots of things together. We wrote this book, so you should go take a look at that. Anyway, here. The secret, right? First, technology. In my case, Java, but it could be any technology you want. It could be MySQL, could be anything. It doesn't need to be one thing. It can be clouds. It can be whatever tech thing that you like, right? So be good at something technical, right? Whatever it is. Even if you're a sales guy, be good at something technical. There is technology on sales. You have to be good at negotiation, for example. You have to be good at negotiation tactics. So whatever it is, be good at something technical, something that you are very good at, right? And if you do that, you have a lot of responsibilities because you have to be responsible to learn that thing, to go deep on that thing, right? You build expertise. Anything technical that you're doing, you build expertise, right? There's a little bit of focus, not necessarily a lot, but a little bit of focus, right? And a little bit of autonomy. So technology gives some reputation things here, right? It could be a little bit of trust, but trust not really, because the fact that you know something doesn't mean that I know that you know something, right? So just technology by itself doesn't give you necessarily trust. Expertise gives you trust because I can see you applying things in the project, for example, and I can then I can build trust. But that's what happens. So something technical is going to give you some of the reputation. Now, the other thing is community. Doing what Luis does, or Hugo does, or Lara does, right? Or even the MySQL community, right? That Fred works on, and many other communities. When you join and you participate in a community, that builds a lot of responsibility because you have to be responsible for the thing. There's no one telling you what to do, so you have to be responsible, right? And actually, I should have put autonomy here a little bit too, right? Because, if no one's telling you what to do, you have autonomy to do the things, right? But also, because you're helping others, you uplift people. You get people to grow with you because you're helping others, right? And, in communities, it only works if you take action. If you don't take action, other people take action and you get nothing, right? So, you take action to do those things, right? And because you're doing this, see, everyone clap for Luis because we already trust him because he's doing those things, right? So he builds a lot of trust. And if you're doing community things, you're not the I person automatically, right? Because you're doing things for others, not for you. So community gives you all of that. And then the last one I want to point out, to kind of raise the ball here for Fred, because he's going to talk about this later, right? Open source. Open source is amazing because open source gives you lots of things, right? Because it's responsibility. You decide what you do, right? It's autonomy. On an open source project, you do what you need, what you want to do. There's no one telling you what to do, right? You have to take lots of actions, otherwise you're not even participating in anything. It helps others, right? There's a lot of purpose. There's a focus. There's a group of people working together on something for some reason, So there's a purpose there, right? And it's expertise, but it's not only expertise because you're doing things with people better than you even, but it's visible expertise, right? So all of these helps you grow these things here. So if you merge those three things, if you do technology plus community plus open source, this is what you have, right? You hit all the important things on the reputation formula, right? Of course, you still have to not lie. Nothing's gonna force you to not lie, right? And you still have to work on negativity. There are top open source developers that are very negative, right? So you're still gonna have to work on those things here. But just by doing those things, participating in those things, you get all the reputation formula points in the right place. Okay, so with that, you guys know my secrets now. Because I'm known as a Java man. I found one technology, one community, one place I could work at, and I could focus on, and I could help people on, right? And not only it was this, but I got heavily involved. I created the Java User Groups community. That when I started the Java User Groups community, there's 10 user groups, right? Today we have almost 700 Java User Group leaders in the Java User Group communities, right? I joined the Java community process, because that is the process where I define the Java technology. It's a community, right? So if you get the JCP plus OpenJDK, that's the open source Java version, because I helped convince Sun to release Java as open source, right? And the Java user group community, that's like the real Java community, right? So I've worked on all those three things here. That's technology plus community plus open source, right? And so when we're doing this, and then I was a couple of times I was director of the open source initiative. I'm now an honorary director. I helped found SouJava, right? The largest Java group in the world. So when you join those three things, your reputation grows. And when your reputation grows, what happens? Think back at the first phrase from Heinz Kibbutz. When your reputation grows, you get called to work on the hardest problems. And when you work on the hardest problems, you become the experts. Make sense? All right. So that's my book again. Oh, and just because we have English here, no one needs this. This is the English meter that tests your level of English, your level of English. But wait, you don't have to even take your phone out. Let me tell you this. If you're here and you're able to follow this presentation, you already have a good English. But Bruno, I don't speak. I can only understand. That's not a problem. If you read English and you understand English, you have a good English. The only thing you need to do is put yourself in a position where you have to speak. Okay? All right? All right, guys. So I think I passed my time a little bit here. And that's it. So thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Questions? Okay, so the questions. Go ahead. You wanna speak here? Hello, hello. Do you hear me? Yeah. Go ahead.
So good night, Bruno. Congratulations for your presentation. My question is, so do you think that we need to follow a path to find to be a specialist no matter what level we are in our career? So if we are an entry level or a senior level, we need to go to to be a specialist, or if we are an entry level, we need to be more generalist, or yeah, that's it.
Okay, so the old question about should I be a specialist or generalist, right? So here's the thing. My opinion is that you're always specialists. right? You're software developers already. At some point in your life, maybe when you're kids, you start liking computers and you did more things with computers. And then you start doing software and you start becoming a software developer. You're already a specialist. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine that does a doctor software for hospitals. And he was telling me, Bruno, it's crazy how we developers, how we can understand what other people do very fast. You know, the doctor comes to me and tells things, and I know what he's talking about, but he cannot understand what we're doing. We're already very good, man. We're top specialists already. So we're already specialists. Now, the problem is that no one knows in what specialist you are. And developers, we think, oh, my specialty, I'm a Java developer. I'm specialized in Java. And for you to say I'm a specialist in Java is for a guy that comes to my house. My house has lots of wood in my house, right? So the guy comes in my house and there's a ceiling in my house. And the guy says, Bruno, don't worry. I'm going to fix your roof because I'm a specialist in hammers. That's you saying I'm a specialist in Java. No one wants a specialist in Java. What I want is a specialist in roof to come and fix my roof. And I hope that the specialist in roof knows how to use a hammer and many other tools. Same thing. When you're not a specialist in Java, you're specialist in something else. You solve some kind of problem, right? And that solution that you do, that's what's amazing. And then you use any tool that you want to solve that problem. I honestly don't care if the guy comes to my roof, he uses a hammer, a saw, and he has an automatic ram hammer, or if he has, an electric saw. I don't care. Because he knows what he's doing, right? And that's why you should think. So don't focus on being a specialist in tools. Now, can someone be specialist in tools? Of course. I used this example many, many years, right? But recently, about a year ago, I learned that one of my mentees, her father worked for many, many years on Tramontina. It's a tools company that does hammers, right? And so she was telling me that, yes, not only they have the specialists in hammers, they have the specialists in the head of the hammer, they specialists on the handle of the hammer, and they specialists on the glue that glues the two together, right? So you can be a specialist in tools if you're building the tool, right? If you're building the tool, you can be a specialist in tool. Make sense? So you can be a specialist in Java, go do OpenJDK. You can be a database specialist, go do MySQL. But most of us, we are specialists in solving problems. Okay? And what is a generalist? I'm the closest you can be as a generalist in the software development industry. Because you know what I'm specialist in? I'm really good at solving problems. When I come to a project, in one conversation, in 90 minutes, I know what the biggest problem is. And I go solve the biggest problem. And the biggest problem rarely is Java. Right? It's usually people. It's usually something else. That's why today I help you guys grow your careers, because the problem is people, right? And so, so if you are a generalist, you're not a generalist. You're a problem solver. So embrace your specialty. Embrace your superpower, whatever that is. Okay? I actually was talking to a mentee yesterday, and I was talking about, she has like a huge, very, very cool superpower. And sometimes you have a superpower, but then you kind of think that, you only do one thing. So that's what her case. She has a huge superpower, but because she works in a specific company doing specific things, she thinks that she can only apply her superpower to that one situation. And that would be similar to you being Superman. And because one day you flew and you saved Louis Lane from falling from the building, now you believe that your power is to save people from buildings. And then that's all you do. You keep saving people from buildings instead of using your superpower to do a lot more. Make sense? So go figure out that one thing you're very good at. That one thing that only you can do. And you know how you do this? No. You know how you know your superpower? Because it's that thing that you do that everyone around you knows how amazing you are. And you say, oh, that's normal. That's just what I do. Everyone tells me, hey man, how do you do this thing? You're like, I don't even know how I do it. It's just what I do. Right? I like to say that, what does the fish do that is amazing? Swim. You swim too, right? Yeah, so no, that's not swim. What the fish does is amazing. Breathe on the water, right? And you tell the fish, man, that's amazing. You're here in this aquarium and you breathe in water. That's amazing. And what does the fish tell you? It's like, that's normal. That's nothing special. That's just what I do. So you are the fish, man. There is some amazing thing that you do. There is a breathing underwater that you have that everyone around you finds amazing. And you think, oh, that's just normal. So go figure what that is and go make that your reputation. That's going to make amazing things for you. Cool? All right. Now, okay. Thanks very much, guys. Thank you. All right.
Thanks, Bruno. That was amazing. Analogy with the fish. That's new. Thank you. Thanks. And yeah, so and also for this event to be possible to run this event, we have the support of Oracle, and they are giving lots of support, and not just this event, but many other communities. So that's amazing and makes things possible to be here, sharing experience, sharing knowledge, and also growing our career. And I want to open the space here to call Anna. She will be talking about some of Oracle solutions, right? So thanks a lot. Warm welcome for her.
Hi, everyone. Good night. Some of you might know me because I'm part of the MySQL LAG team for the solution engineering. And while they get the presentation done, so I can show you here, this will be a very, very quick and brief notes just before Lefred's presentation. In the name of Oracle, we would like to say a huge thank for each one of you for being here, and also for SouJava for letting us be part of this. Also, as the MySQL community, Lefred came all the way from Belgium to be here with you guys today. So it's very important to see each one of you here. I want to say a huge thanks. This is my LinkedIn in case you guys want to connect. I'm always posting about MySQL on premises, MySQL Heatwave on the cloud as well. So if you have any questions about MySQL or anything or about Oracle, about the cloud, because I get a lot of questions about Oracle. So you can ask me. And now, also, I would like to remember you guys that we have the race to certification. So this is the last month you have to get the certifications for free. So you should all enjoy it. Also, I leave here the QR code. You guys can scan it. We have a lot of certifications. We have MySQL certifications. We have Oracle certification for the cloud, Java, and a lot of things. So we have over 20 courses that you guys can take for free. So enjoy it. It's only until the 31st of October. So this is the last month you guys can take this. And also, I would like to remember you guys that Oracle is supporting all the community events. So we're always having community events here. Yesterday, we had the PHP. Today, we're having SouJava and MySQL community event. But we are always having lots of community events here at Oracle. And we would like to remember you guys that you guys are always super, super huge welcome here. And we are super happy to have everyone here. So feel free to ask us questions about Oracle, about the community, or anything. And I hope you guys feel home because we are giving you a very warm welcome. And also, we have here the QR code that you guys can scan and see the next events we're going to have here at Oracle, right? So, again, this was very, very quick. It was just to remember you guys that we are very happy to have you here as Oracle. Thanks a lot for SouJava for being here and letting us be part of this as the MySQL team. And very important, but MySQL also turned 30 this year. So a huge congratulations for MySQL. On Saturday, we're having a huge conference. We have every year, one time a year, a very big conference for MySQL. It's going to be in FIAP. I'm not sure if some of you are going or not, but it's happening this Saturday, and it would be a pleasure to see anyone who's going. And if you want to know anything more about it, you can look for me or Hebert or Julio. We are all part of the same team, of the MySQL team here in Brazil. And that is it. Now I'll leave you to Lefred to give his presentation. And once again, thanks a lot for being here, guys. I know it's like a rainy night, kind of cold outside. So it means a lot to see everyone here. We have a full room. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming. So and it was fun because to the answer earlier, they say, "Oh, who is new to Java?" I am completely new to Java, and I will show you what I was able to do with Java. I'm not impressed, but it's something, right? Already. So let's start by the presentation. So my name is Frederic Descamps, which is very complicated to say if you don't speak French. So everybody calls me Lefred. You can find me on multiple social media, from X to Mastodon and stuff. So I'm MySQL evangelist, so meaning that I go everywhere and talk about MySQL. And I'm using MySQL since the version 3.20. So it's almost 30 years, almost. So it's a very long time. I don't know if somebody, you're not MySQL guys, I think so. But did somebody use MySQL 3? Yeah, that's even where it's plenty of MySQL people, almost nobody replies yes. But on Saturday there will be some because I know them. So I'm also a DevOps believer. I'm living in Belgium and have a website called lefred.be where you can find a lot of information related mostly to MySQL, but not only, because I did a lot of stuff open source. So why and how I created this stuff. So and why we bring this MySQL without SQL. It's because the SQL language, it's maybe not very friendly. Oh, sorry, very friendly language. The developer don't like it. At least the new developer, the young people, when we ask them, they have all the book of SQL, but nobody reads it. And it's very this is one of the languages very complicated to if you don't study it. It's very uncommon to be able to work with it, right? So because people doesn't like it, we try to make it more simple. But the data, you still need to store data anyway. So if you want to have your data and not use SQL, we try to find something for you. And I will also speak about stuff even more in details on the MySQL part about MySQL without SQL tomorrow. To another, I give another lecture, but I don't know really where. I can tell you later if you want when we finished. So. And also for a lot of time now, the development has been split between the front end and the back end. I hear when I go somewhere, you were talking about generalist and specialist. People say, oh, I'm a back end developer. Oh, I'm a front end developer. And so, and all these back end developer, they create APIs and the front end use these APIs. And so this is what we try to bring to the people with the solution I will show you today. And the second motivation was also to build something modern using some new stuff that I don't know. And like he said, when you don't know, instead to learn, the best thing is to do it. And this is what I did. So I try to say, okay, I will go to Brazil. I'm invited to talk about Java to a Java user group. So let's learn Java. And to learn Java, the best thing was to do something with Java. And of course, to learn AI. So let's add AI to it. So the use case, it's that for our application, I will use something I know. and it is MySQL, and I want to use a sample database which is called Sakila. Sakila, it's also the name of the dolphin. So now you learn also the name of the dolphin, which is our mascot. And so there is a Sakila database, which is an example database, sample database that you can use for MySQL to learn how to use SQL usually. And it contains information about a rental store for videos. Yes, I am that old that I was going to rent videos at the store when I was younger. So if you want to see how it looks like, you can download it. And then to use Java, I didn't use raw Java. I wanted to use a framework, and I used Helidon, which is a lightweight Java for microservices, and it is made from Oracle. So who knows Helidon? 2 people? Oh, that's good. You will learn 3, 4. Micronaut, maybe it's another one also. Okay, so I use Helidon, and Alan will also explain why I'm using Helidon later. So the technology, to recap, we're going to use MySQL, but without SQL. So we're going to use the MySQL REST service. So the database will provide a REST service for you to use and to get data without SQL. Then the Helidon framework, some OCI GenAI with the LangChain 4J, and some server-sent events, SSE, that I didn't know what it was, to be honest, before trying it. And I found it cool, so I said, okay, let's talk about that. I asked what's new in Helidon, and they told me, oh, SSE, it's new, so let's use it. So why Helidon? Because it's an open source framework. I love open source. This is why my slides are not on my laptop, because I use Linux only, and the click share stuff proprietary doesn't work on it. So this is an open source framework. It's built for a cloud native application. It's integrates support for OCI service and GenAI. So this is why I say, okay, let's try it in the development version of it. It's very easy to develop. It's very quick. I was able to develop very quickly my application, and the people working on Helidon are very quick to answer you when you ask a question, and also quick when you find bugs to fix them. And in such project, it's not often that they, like in less than a week, you have the build already fixed and deployed and released. So it was very cool. And they have a very cool team. I know some people that I met in Czech Republic. So I think, okay, that's a good reason to test Helidon. So the architecture overview of our application is that the user will authenticate to the application will authenticate to the REST service. The REST service will provide endpoints that will access the database. If there are some changes that we want to do without clicking and stuff, like if something changes in the database, the application will be already notified immediately in real time. And we will also use to enrich the data we have. So we have data, and we want to give some more value to the data using some GenAI. So this is what we're going to do to make it happen. So let's start with the MySQL REST services, because I am a MySQL evangelist, so I need to talk to you about MySQL. So the MySQL REST services, it's a completely new generation for storing the JSON documents and get like the JSON duality. If you know Oracle database, it's something similar. But here we don't only store documents. We can already store relational data. This is what we're going to see now. But we can get it answers and create an API out of it in HTTP, HTTPS. And you can have it in MySQL, in E2F. So E2F is the service of MySQL in the OCI cloud, and also in Amazon cloud by Oracle. And in InnoDB cluster, replica set stuff. This is for more HA, for if you are doing, let's say, architecture of MySQL, but I will not talk about that today. But it's all integrated. It's fully integrated with all these architecture, and it works following all the standards. And so to do that, we have 4 building blocks: the RESTful web service, the REST SQL extension, the powerful data mapping. So we need to map the data we want with the real data we have. And we have also some client SDK. So you create your service and you can create an SDK out of it. So very easy then to use when your application. Because we are a bit taken by the time, so this is how it looks like, but I will not go everywhere. But you can see something very interesting here is that you can create your service, configure your service in SQL if you want. So there is a way to do that, but I will show you some more cool stuff how to do it. And this is even more graphic about how it works, but you will have the slides. Slides will be shared. So I will not go into the details here because we will not have time. So the REST services provide you this API, and you can have access to this REST service by the MySQL router. This is the default. So you need to have the server, and then you have a router, and you connect to the router for to have this API calls. Then you also have in MySQL HeatWave. So when you deploy on OCI or in AWS MySQL HeatWave, you have also the REST service that is available. You need the version 9 of MySQL. But the first option, I didn't really like it, to be honest. So I pushed the development team and I say, okay, guys, why don't we put that in the server directly, not in the router? Because people won't deploy routers like that. They prefer to have, this is very a core component of the server. I would like to have it in the server. And this is what the development team did. And we release it as a lab release. So the third lab release has been released 1 week ago. And it will be on the next release, will be GA part of MySQL. So now we have directly in the server that, so you don't need to have an external component like the router to use it. And then we have the MySQL shell for Visual Studio Code that integrates all that here. You can have your database, you connect to your database, and you create your REST service from here. So as a developer, you should like this way to do it. As an operator or a DevOps guy, DBA, you don't like that. So I'm not the type of guy who really likes this. But it's possible you create everything here, then you export in SQL, you give that to the operation team, and it will deploy that on your thousands of servers if you need it. So we can mix both, which is that's cool. So you go on the database you have here. I use MRS13. When I did the screenshot, we are the version 14 now, the last one that we have created. So you click on your database and you say, okay, I want to configure this instance to have the REST service. So you click and that's it. Then you say, okay, I want to add now a REST service. You click on it, you give a name on the REST service, you say if you want to have published it or not, and which type of authentication you want. And you will see, I will show you different type of authentication. The MySQL one is the easy one, and but we have other ones that developers really like. So I will show you that too later. And then when it's published, you see it's live, it has /myservice, and this is where you can access your service. Our service is doing nothing yet. Then we need to add the data we want. So I will take the Sakila database. I say, okay, add the Sakila database to my service. So just right click, add it to my service. This is the information. I can say who has access to it and stuff. And then I will go on the tables and say, I want to add this table to the service. You can do per table, you can create views, you can make joins and stuff like that. So because there are integrity keys between the tables, you can see that, for example, here, the actor table is linked somehow to the film table, and so you can add it. So in your object that it will be mapped, you can add all the relation there too. So now it's done, and you can see we have all our relation created and our service created that need access to connect to it. And we have actor, category, city, film, and users from the Sakila. we can do from the shell command line, we can have information about that if we want. So we don't need to have the GUI. We can see it here. It's in JavaScript, and we can see which one are enabled, what are, if we need to authenticate and stuff like that or not. And now we have created, deployed, published, and we're gonna use it later. Then Helidon. Helidon framework, I use the latest development release, so from September, so very recent. I use the SC version, which is lightweight and flexible, and it supports OCI GenAI integration via LangChain4j. And this is the development. It was M1. You can see now it's M2. They made the M2 because of me, because I had some issues, and I asked them, could you fix it? And they did. So this is why also I really enjoy to work with that. So this is my biggest skills in Java. So this talks more to you than me, I guess. So I create my web server. I create it goes get the configuration to connect. It creates some routing, and I will show you different routing. This is where they are because it was too long, right? And here, when we reach, for example, the root, we will just display something on the screen, right? And so this is easy. So like I said, please note, this is my first Java and Helidon application, so I might not using all the best practice. But if doing that, you make issues, right? And this is how you can become an expert. So this is the route I will have. So we will have the get is the home page, and then we create authentication routes. So to log in, to log out, to create a hash. Then we have the UI to have the main page, and then we create SSC routes to have the real-time update, and the AI routes to have the feature. So all the code, and I will share with you the GitHub. It's on GitHub, and you can use it, right? I wanted just to show you how the routes are created. So this was quite easy. I just create my routes, and then I will create my classes in Java. I learned how to do that. I do C++ usually, so it's not that different, but there are some differences. And so this is how it looks like on my disk. I have my classes, like I said, AI routes, API routes, authentication, login, main, nothing complicated. And then to authenticate, there are two things here. So authentication might be complicated, and in my team there is a developer advocate, Scott, who likes Java, and he does a lot of Java with MySQL, and he was asking me, yeah, but so like I told you, we can create authentication, and there was the MRS, the MySQL, and there are others. And I told you MySQL is the easiest one because it goes to check in the database for the users that can connect to the database. So these are not application users, these are not operating system users, just users that can connect to the database. And then the MRS provides you also authentication with Google, with Facebook, with plenty of other services. And Scott was asking me, yeah, but if I have an application already and my users are on a table, how do I authenticate, right? And so this is what I wanted to show, to try to solve for him. And this is why I did it like this. So the application will authenticate. My application, Helidon or whatever, will authenticate to the REST service, but it's the only authentication that will work between the application and the REST service. But it's not mandatory, but this is how I did it. And then the application will have users that where the password will be hashed, and this is how the user will authenticate. So I mix both just to see if it was working. So like I said, MRS provide you MRS, so from here you can create users, but then you need to create users. If you have already an application with 10,000 users, it's boring. You can use MySQL internal, so this is our MySQL users. You can use Facebook, Google, or OCI out for the moment. So I use MySQL internal, I give the name MySQL, and I have my user thread. This is on my database, and this is what I will use just for the REST service to connect to, for Helidon to connect to the REST service, right? So not all users will connect. So this is just what I explained you. Helidon doesn't have the MRS authentication enabled, doesn't know about it. So I create an issue, and it might be, it's a feature request, so they might add it. So yeah, the REST service is in MRS client. Where you will check the code, you will see it. So like I said, my application may have already data, users, and this is the table. So my users, I have a username and they have a password hash. And so Helidon will need, when they authenticate, be able to check that. And this is what it looks like, right? And this is what we do in the application. To create this hash, I've created a route called, no, this is not the route. This is just the check. So the check to compare. So very easy to understand. And there is a route debug hash here to create a hash. So for me, it was easy to create it. And so we have the login, authentication login, and authentication logout. And this is to create a hash. Oh, I do. So for example, Brazil will looks like this. So now, if you want to show the real time, right? So because people want to do that, I was checking, what's the best solution? Polling was very bad. Then WebSocket, complicated for me in Java to do it because, like I told you, I was a newbie in Java. So the guys from Helidon team say, why don't you use something new that it's called SSE that we have implemented in Helidon? So, okay, let's try it. So it has a minimal JavaScript. It's fully integrated with Helidon, and it works very nice. And I will show you all that in a demo. So I create classes where I have my connection broadcast and all my endpoints and authentication to check this. So this is how it looks like. So it's not a lot of code, and all it's implemented in Helidon. And this is how you can broadcast that you are connected, and every time there is a change, it will change my pages. So here, the routes, and there are events, and I'm authenticated to the events, and I listen to all the events that we sent. And this is what I told you about the JavaScript. In my index page, this is the only thing I have. So it's very minimal, and it works fine, right? So then the OCI integration, you need to have the Helidon 4.3, so the one in development, because the old one was not supporting LangChain 4j yet. You need to have a OCI account, because I use OCI GenAI, but you may use other GenAI service. And now what I wanted to do is, okay, I told you that we have we are a rental DVD or tape shop, and I want to give an actor, and I will ask to the GenAI to provide me information about that actor. Was the actor good? Was he bad? What is his career? So we can create that. I wanted to see if GenAI could add value to my data. So to do that, you need to have some dependencies. So these are the dependencies in Helidon. So you add that in your pom.xml. And this is what you add in your application YAML. You say, okay, I want to use LangChain 4j, OCI GenAI. I use the chat model. Of course, it's enabled. My region, I am in Belgium, so I'm close to Germany. You need to put your own compartment ID. So this is the only thing you need to find out. And then some model. For example, why it's this model XAI Grok 3? It's a very nice model, but it's not available in Frankfurt, for example. It was available only in Ashburn for me when I tried. So it depends. All the models are not available in all regions. So you need to find out which model is available in your region. And then this is what I want. So you send first a message that say, okay, print me the model I use, present yourself as the Sakila GenAI assistant. And we're gonna also add the context of the actor we want. And what's the context? We're gonna ask MySQL with the REST API, this is the actor, provide me all the information you get from it, and it will return a JSON, and then it will do it. for you. And so this is what I will ask as the prompt. Explain this actor, blah, 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 in HTML, and you will see how it looks like in a few. Of course, like I told you, all these users and all these actors are in MySQL. The users to log in are in MySQL in a table. Everything is in a table, and we don't use one single line of SQL. None. If you do a grep in the code, you won't see any time an insert, a select, a delete from SQL, right? So we only use this CRUD operation to get data, post JSON, patch JSON, put JSON, and that's it, right? So what I learned is that the Helidon team responsiveness was very nice on Slack, but not only, also on GitHub. You can combine all that very easily, and it's powerful. And I will show you why it's powerful, because here I speak. It's the trust part, but I want to show it to you. And which is nice is that then with this, the developer, they can really focus on what they need to provide and not the plumbing. The plumbing is done all by Helidon and by the REST service. And you can have everything on... can you click on play? I hope it works. Ooh. So here, I am in the workspace from the Helidon. I start with Maven, the clean install package. So I then start my application. It connects to OCI. Then I go to the UI. The UI goes directly to the login. Here, I need to put my username, my password. This username and password are the one in the database, because it's how to connect that is the one with the REST services authentication. And here we have all the information. So I have the 25 first actors, right? Then I type some name, and you can see we have two names. I want to change one of the actors. This is one of my daughters. And I changed the name here. This is the name of my second doctor. I have three. And you can see it's changed directly. So we don't do anything. The SSC will change for you all that automatically with 2 lines of code, right? Then here, we will do the AI summary of one of the actor. And then it connects to OCI, GenAI, and it will generate, it takes time, depends how big is your shape and all that kind of stuff. And it provides you this information. So I never wrote that blue, green, bold, nothing. All that was made by the AI. With the data that it got from the REST service, it created that. This is the Llama model, I guess. And I will show you after with another model. I have some screenshots also. So we do another user, and every time also GenAI will learn, and it will make it every time a bit nicer. So here is the actor number 1. You can see here the path. So I use that AI actor 1 explain. So these are the routes I have created. And this is this one created also directly which one is the best movie, what's the worst movie, how it can count that it's by the rating of the user, so many times it has been rented, that video, and stuff like that. So all that is created by AI. So I think this was I was impressed, to be honest, because I was just sending raw data, and then it provides me this. And like I told you, so this is the code running. You can see I want to do a grep of select, right? It is the SQL language to get the data. And you can see there is no one single select query, not one single insert, not one single update or SQL in the database, right? Just MySQL type twice. That's it. So all the application, all the data, it's in MySQL, and as you can see, there was no single line of SQL. So this is, for example, with a newer model, more powerful model. So here it's a XI Grok. You can see the layout, the output is even better. More you take a bigger model, better will be the layout. So I didn't ask to make it nicer and stuff like that. Just the same question, but the model understand I want a nice HTML stuff, and it provides me all that information from the code we sent. Yeah, so the conclusion is that I didn't know anything about Java. So the first time I saw Java was almost the last time, was to do this applet in Netscape. Yes, it was Netscape at that time, and that's it. Using Helidon with the REST service, so not a single line of SQL, and adding AI in just few lines, and you can see that on GitHub. You can create a nice application that does stuff already, and you can of course extend it as much as you want. The code is here on GitHub, Helidon MRS GenAI. You will find plenty of code on my GitHub repository. So that's it about this session. I hope I think it was not too technical. There was a lot of code, but I didn't want to go in the details now because it's late. And but do you have questions? Yes. Oh, sorry.
Good night. I have a question about, you said the code don't have any line of code of SQL, so just everything was automated with the lib, the MySQL REST service. And when we have tables that is very complex with a lot of joins, how can we make this logic without code?
So if you want to do that without code, right, you have two choice. The first choice is like I show you, if there are relations between these joins. So, and this relation exists, it will show it for you automatically. We'll know it. And then you can select, because here I select, for example, the actor, the name, the first name, but I can say, oh, my REST endpoint will only give me the ID of the actor and the first name, nothing else. I don't care. Then, but it joins on the category of the movie. I want to join the movies, and just the title and the category. You can select that. Then if you don't have that, because you don't join always by the real relation that exists, you can join for something stuff without any relation that is written on the database. So if you do that, you can create a view. So you can create a view, and then you can export the full view as to the endpoint. So this is the best way to do it. It's other question?
Do you have more questions? Okay.
Good night. My question is, why use MySQL REST service in place of object-related mapping ORMs? What is the advantage?
As a DBA, this will be my answer. As a DBA, ORM is a nightmare, really a nightmare. Usually, I know certainly in the Java world, people will say, but my ORM is the best and stuff. But usually ORM are very complex. And on all the production I've seen using ORM, they always overwrite at the end. They always put SQL somewhere at least once or twice. And or also what I've seen in ORMs is that sometimes you create an object that is mapped in the ORM that and you don't need everything. But on the database is joined 10 tables, and at the end you use only two or three fields from 2 of the tables, but you join 10 of them all the time anyway, right? So I know some ORMs can be expanded now to fix that. They improve, hopefully. But this is one of the reasons. And the thing is, and it was on the graph that I skipped because of time, but what you can do with, for example, the REST service, is that you provide your database an endpoint. And this is, for example, if you create application for the mobile. So if you create an application for the mobile, you can connect to the database endpoint directly from your mobile without creating another application. So you don't connect from the mobile to an application and then the application to the database. Here, it's your mobile that connects directly to the REST endpoint of the database that is publicly somewhere, and you authenticate there and you get your data out of it directly. If you don't need to create an ORM or use an ORM directly from your inside of your mobile, for example, right? You just connect there and get the data you need. So that's one of the reasons.
Excellent. Any more last question we have? No? Okay, we have one more question here.
Yes, hi. What are the tips that you have, or the main focus that MySQL community is moving in the direction of AI in this AI era? What you would say the best project, or what are you guys doing?
Yeah. When you say MySQL community, you talk about the MySQL users, or you are talking about the MySQL community edition?
Yes, as a developers, open source developers providing services and
the MySQL Community Edition, there is no AI embedded to it. To be honest, you need to create you need to do the plumbing, right? For example, here I was using only open source stuff, right, and a service. The AI was a service. If I had to create that AI by myself, right, the chat that I send data using Lang4j, I had to create then everything by myself on my server, right, to do that. It's possible to do that by yourself, but it's expensive also, and takes you need to have a lot of expertise, not only in Java, not only in MySQL, but then also in the LLMs and stuff like that, right? But it's possible, and I'm talking on all that on Saturday. But for customers now, we have also released, like last Monday, I guess. Yeah, it was last Monday. A tool called a new product called MySQL AI, which is on top of MySQL Enterprise. Then, so this is not open source, because not everything can be always open source. I regret that too. But and then you have the LLM embedded in MySQL, and you don't and all the calls and all that kind of stuff, it's inside MySQL, so you don't need to do the plumbing by yourself. But if you want to do the plumbing, you can do it, and I can show you how to do it. But it's not embedded. So MySQL AI, it's embedded, like on the cloud.
Okay, we have one more question, Fred.
Sure, good.
So about all these features and everything, what are your suggestions when creating new applications and everything? Do you think that is it possible to run a whole application only using this MRS, or do you think that probably depending on the domain and the complexity, we will still need some SQL somewhere?
The thing is that what it creates outside, because it was made by the MySQL developers and stuff, so it's very performant, right? How it works, it's very performant. Now, can we solve everything with that? I don't know. If you have a very recursive, Windows function and stuff like that, or CTEs, might be complicated. But you can create a view for it, so that will be easy. But you can create almost, if you already have like this, what I was telling about front end and back end developer, right? If you're a front end developer and you need to have data access, this you can do everything you want with that. It will be as powerful as the plain MySQL.
Thanks.
And this is why we put it on the server now. So we also bypass the eventual latency that you could have with the router and stuff like that.
Okay, so I think we have lots of questions answered, right, Fred? So, thanks a lot. I don't know how to say it, shower of claps for our presenter. Thanks a lot. And yeah, so let's call our next presenter, the last one, Víctor Orozco. We're going to be talking about DevSecOps with Terraform. Yes, can put here. Oh, good. And then after this presentation, we're gonna have our traditional networking moment at the floor, right? Okay. And before you go there, please take a look here on the table. We have lots of these stickers if you like stickers, and also some other things here. You're free to take it as a gift from this event. So yep. Thanks a lot, and warm welcome to Víctor Orozco. Thanks, Víctor.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I am a little bit with cold, and I just perceive it. I am losing my voice, so I am trying to do my best. Eu falo português também, eu falo espanhol, então sejam todos bem-vindos. Eu vou voltar para inglês. So today I'm going to share a little bit of ideas regarding how software development, and especially modern software development, is working with any programming language, but especially focused on Java. So I want to start with a question. How many of you in your organizations are doing the coding part and the infrastructure part? Do you like the experience about doing both worlds? Kinda. Yeah. So let me share a little bit of context about why I'm speaking about this. Recently, I've been working in a consultancy for, well, not so recently, for 2 years and a half. And I started as a Java architect, but the previous architect kind of was still in the job. So I eventually ended up learning Terraform by mistake. But in this journey, I started to, get a little bit more of knowledge about how the cloud infrastructure works, and especially how my previous Linux knowledge could be applied in designing a good infrastructure to deploy Java applications. I know there is a lot of technologies, a lot of talks, a lot of publications. So when I was starting in this journey, I had a lot of issues like trying to create my own mental framework about what's exactly DevOps, what's the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps. Do I have to choose, GitHub? Do I have to choose Bitbucket? What's going on with Terraform? Why Terraform is not the better option against, serverless framework? So there is a lot of things going on. But in the end, I think that the best way to tackle this kind of problems is to understand first why we are using all of these tools, what's actually the options we have in order to implement these applications, and probably how we can create a mental framework about this. So this could be a little bit polemic because I know I am going to speak about Oracle Cloud as well, but there is a misconception about if you are taking your application and you are going to the cloud, you are automatically achieving scale. So they basically say, oh, let's go and put this into the cloud, and you will be starting to, reply back to 1,000 clients, 2,000 clients. But in the end, it is actually also dependent about the architecture you are using to design your application. So yeah, you are creating jar files, you are creating Java applications, but depending how you decide to put this on the internet and actually the cloud, whatever cloud you choose to, you could actually do it in the wrong way by basically just taking the application, trying to put this online and, calling it a day, or actually doing the critical thinking about, okay, I probably need to refactor my application and rethink my whole infrastructure approach and my whole cloud architecture approach, because I want to, improve the maturity in which I release applications into the cloud. And this is not a exclusive issue, and it's actually quite common. So there is a old keynote that Vodafone presented at some event. I don't recall the event anymore, but they basically divided the maturity of the cloud infrastructure or the infrastructure itself in 4 levels, and usually goes like this. When you are starting your journey to go to the cloud, you could be in the lowest level, in which you have legacy hardware. You are probably paying for some proprietary implementation of the hardware, and your application is tied to deploying to the exact machine and the exact license model. And you cannot take your application and simply put this into the internet. You need to go to the next level. What's the next level? Basically, I am talking about the 90s. We discovered virtualization. This started by the end of the 90s, the beginnings of the 2000s. In virtualizations, we basically discovered, oh, probably I could use commodity hardware. And in this commodity hardware, I could deploy multiple operating systems, being Windows or Linux, and I could like divide and fragment my servers in order to manage better the workloads I am deploying to. This is mostly on premises, but still it is a valid approach. But this is not exactly being cloud native. So what's the difference? When you start to do virtualization, you are basically worried about taking the most of the performance in the hardware, but you are not actually controlling the life cycle of the application. Before going completely cloud native, you have to be cloud ready. That is basically, you have to solve a main problem. This problem is the DevSecOps implementation. So you have to be sure that you already have pipelines in order to test your application, deploy your applications, and most importantly, prepare artifacts. These artifacts could start on premise, but eventually, if you already have like the opportunity to create artifacts, you should be able to publish this into the cloud, into a repository of artifacts, into a Docker repository, and eventually this sole experience of being cloud ready will help you to be cloud native. So what's cloud native anyway? Once you solve the deployment problem, you start to think about how can I grow from this collection of artifacts? Do I have to grow by, creating horizontal scaling applications? Do I have to grow by growing the instances of my application? So in this last level, you start to work with stateless applications, self-healing applications. Depending on the technology, it could be Kubernetes, it could be something managed into the cloud. But in the end, the real challenge is taking my application from the basic deployment of virtualization and going all the journey to be cloud native. And actually, I have to do tricky things. Basically, I have to impact the whole organization with a new software development lifecycle. This is probably a consequence of the implementation of automations. And but not least important, I need to be worried about how operations team, being my team or the unspecific team, will work with this kind of deployments. So why operations is something you have to worry about? I'm not sure how many of you used at some point application servers. How many of you use JBoss, Glassfish, OC4J, for example? Not so many, so that's making me feel old. But when you are using application servers, you basically have one application server. You put a lot of applications into the application server, and observability was basically I have to see the log, and this log will be for the whole set of applications. Probably I will connect directly to the server to get the telemetry about the CPU and the memory, and that's it. Eventually, you started to create clusters. You connected directly to the members of that cluster, but that specific set of servers didn't change so often. However, when you are being cloud native, for example, with serverless applications, with Kubernetes-based applications, this growth in scale, being the growth in scale, the growth in copies, it is highly dynamic. So at some point in the day, you could have one container. At the middle of the day, when everybody's getting lunch, doing payments and everything, you will have 5, 10, 20 copies of the same application. And you have to think different about how you approach the scale. So that's why operations became an important part of the whole deployment and the whole architectural style. So I am telling you problems. What was the solution, or why are we talking about DevOps? um, how many of you recognize these principles? Have you seen this before? Okay, let me tell you a secret. These principles are, let's say, the good and accepted principles to design cloud native applications. These are 12 cloud native application principles developed by Heroku. When I started create applications for the cloud, I wasn't aware of this. So if let me, save you a couple of years by designing applications in a good way for the cloud native deployment. If you are worried about how do I design applications for the cloud native world, probably it is a good idea to check the 12-factor app. So the 12-factor app is basically 12 ideas that should guide you in developing cloud native application, being these the 12 ideas. Let me paraphrase how these ideas work. First idea, you need to handle the deployment of the application directly in the repository of code. So you have to decide a workflow. Second principle, your application doesn't have to depend in something being installed in the server. So you basically pack the dependencies together with your application. You have to externalize the configuration because at some given point of time, you will switch databases, you will switch buses, you will be switching between environments. So you want to create your application in a dynamic and configurable way. Fourth, you have to connect to different backend services. So your application should be able to switch between databases, for some reason, some undefined reason. You have to automate your release process with build, release, and run clearly, stately defined phases of software development. You have to create applications in a stateless way, because that's how it makes your life easier in order to scale your application horizontally. Contrary to the old way of doing software, right now you don't deploy applications into a server, you include a small server into your applications. So if you are using Spring Boot, if you're using Quarkus, if you are using Helidon, there is some kind of high performance web servers inside your application when you create FatJar or the UberJar. Again, you have to scale horizontally. Your applications should start fast and die safely. You cannot groom your application for the whole life cycle. You have to expect that your application dies and boots again, and that should be quick and fast. You have to have dev parity between environments. You have to concentrate the event stream that your application generates. Basically, you have to store at some place the log, the traceability, and the metrics information. And finally, all of this has to be automated in idempotent administrative operations, like, for example, database migrations. As I said, I didn't knew this when I was starting Cloud Native. I really wish someone told me that like years before, because that could have saved a lot of problems to me. But if we translate these 12 ideas to the Java world, it kind of maps like this. So the code base, as I said, you decide a workflow. The workflow depends entirely on the team and the deployment and release discipline you choose for your team. There is different sets of workflows that you could choose to. I usually work with Gitflow, but I actually like trunk-based deployment as well. In the case of dependencies, at this point, this is a solved problem in Java, unless you are working with a really legacy application. You should be using Maven or Gradle right now. The configuration, it is probably a matter of how the infrastructure will handle the configuration of the application. Being in a specific software tool like HashiCorp Vault or Kubernetes Secrets, there are a lot of other configuration tools. The backend services, you are probably connecting in a cloud where you are creating databases or you are creating storage, simple storage, depending. For example, this was for AWS. You have to build, release, and run using an integration service, or for example, Jenkins on GitHub Actions, you have to design your application like processes. The port binding, again, the server is inside your application. You are not deploying your application into a server. So if we choose Quarkus, you will have Vertex. If you choose Node.js, it is an implementation of V8 when you deploy a JavaScript application. And there is a lot of tools to manage the concurrency and the auto-scaling of your application, being probably the well-known, the function as a service, Kubernetes. There is a lot of people talking about Kubernetes and implementing Kubernetes, or simpler, let's say, tools to do it, like container instances in Oracle Cloud. And most of us at this point in time are using some kind of Docker or container implementation. You have to maintain some feature parity between development environment, staging environment, production environment. And there is no human way to do that. You have to do it by code. So that's how we ended up also learning infrastructure as code, because we want to be sure that the infrastructure we want to create is the same we deploy into the cloud. And if we are creating 2 or 3 environments, this will be the same. You can do this only by code. Again, a lot of tools like Terraform, Pulumi, CloudFormation, Docker, observability. The cloud offers some observability capabilities. Probably you want to implement your own observability capabilities. And finally, there is also a lot of tools of admin processes. When I presented this to my team, they basically told me, are you paying us more because we are having to learn these new tools? Because there is a lot of learn. And I say, no, I am not paying more, but you still have to learn how to create these applications because you are facing a different problem. When we used to create applications in the 2000s, we created internal applications with 5,000 users, 10,000 users. But when you are creating applications for a whole country, especially here in Brazil, you are creating applications for millions of potential users. So your application, your cloud has to be designed in a very specific way. A second question that arises here is, why do you have some of these highlighted? That's because this is the toolkit I implemented in the sample I am going to show you. But yeah, my take away concept here is that there is not a single recipe in which you will be able to implement workloads for the cloud. You will be better by learning the principles and the ideas behind the principles. And once you get this, you are probably good to then go to the tools and do your own experiments and implementations. That's my takeaway idea from here. So I'm sure I'm talking too much. There is also a common question in here. How do I control all this without being hacked? Again, we went from one server to a lot of tools in an ecosystem. So, there is a lot of possibilities about being hacked in here, being in the process of development, being in the release application, being in the online application. So we increased also the risk of information security about all of the implementations in the cloud. And I will say, again, this is a depends answer, because you have to refactor not only the process to create the software, but also the process about how you tackle security for the cloud native world. And that's basically the whole idea of DevSecOps. So let's compare it. This is basically how DevOps works. When we were in the 90s, the new cool thing was we need to do agile development, because we were in a world where cascade development was the thing. So agile development with Scrum, with XP and other agile practices helped us to release software more often. I know to this day, there is still a debate about if Scrum works or not. I will say it works most of the times. But yeah, that's the 90s. What came next was the concept of continuous integration. This was a present from the Java world. If you go to the history of the continuous integration servers, one of the first appearances of this kind of servers was Cruise Control, which was probably the first integration server for Java. eventually this was the first generation. Then it came Hudson, Jenkins, GitHub Actions, Bitbucket pipelines, and all of the tools you probably found Tecton right now in the Kubernetes space. But that's basically about if I am doing all the times the same tests, probably I can automate this and a server could do it for me. And at the same time, there was the presentation to the world about JUnit. So the unit test concept, it is also a concept that was born in Java, and eventually most of the unit testing frameworks in different programming languages use the same concepts. If you learn JUnit, you basically know how to do testing in any programming language. But yeah, that's a problem for the 2000s. Eventually, we already had a server to execute continuous tests. So right now we have a server that is able to publish this to some place, being a server, being a cloud infrastructure. So that's continuous deployment. But the least, but not the least important concept is, okay, you are publishing this automatically. You have to be aware what's the performance of your application when you are running this into the cloud. That's the ops part of DevOps. This is more easy to say than implement, but I am not talking about the security right now. I am talking about just the software development lifecycle. So where the security part comes from, if you ask to the security people, they will say security should be everywhere. So they basically have 5 principles that you probably have to comply in a lot of certification processes like ISO 25000 or a NIST process of certification. But basically, you have to be careful that all of these stages in the DevOps process should have some kind of security. So there are 5 principles. The first one is shift left. You basically have to code secure from the beginning. You have to use tools in order to secure your code. The second principle is if you are already automating the testing of the functionality of your application, probably you could also automate the security verifications of your application. So this could be part of the same continuous integration process. Third, security as code. This makes more sense in English, but basically is our code is security. So our culture is security. We have to be aware about how to code securely. We have to be trained continuously in order to be aware of the new, principles of designing good and secure software. Fourth, probably some of you consider it as the boring part, but most of this is strongly implemented in the development teams and the companies and themselves by using compliance tools like compliance frameworks, company audits, especially if you work in finance. That's the the thing you have to do daily to be aware about you are in compliance or not with the less security frameworks. And finally, you have to assume that at some point this will not be enough. So you have to be constantly monitoring if you are being hacked or not. Basically, you have to put in place systems for alarms, system to validate that your infrastructure is fine, that your applications are working securely. So yeah, once a friend of mine asked me, what's the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps? And I basically said, sec. You have to put security in there. So you are basically adding a little bit more of security on every stage. And in order to do that, you use a mix between culture, between tools, and mostly about being aware that every of these stages could be facing security risks. And you have to, be a little bit aware that you need to be better in order to implement security. So how does this look? I presented the 12-factor app. Again, this is a mix between tools, audit processes, but the shift left implementation, most of the times in the teams, will be a mix between a static application security testing, some kind of software that automates the testing for you. The classic is Sonar, so probably some of you already have Sonar in your development teams, but there is other libraries that are actually quite good in order to detect code, unsecure code, like Spotbox. And the last trend in the static analysis space is to use AI in order to evaluate the code. So I'm not sure if some of you already have it in your teams, but you could ask right now to GitHub Copilot not only to generate code, but actually you could ask it to review code, suggest improvements, and detect errors when you are doing the PRs. So that's quite cool. And actually, I like that more if compared to generating code. I really prefer GitHub Copilot to be the PR reviewer and not the code generator. It works better, at least in my opinion. But at the same time, you have to do static software analysis for software composition. You are part of a chain of dependency, especially if you work with open source libraries. At this point, all of the developers in this room have to be working in some kind of open source dependencies. So you have to analyze your dependencies with tools like Snyk for compliance, for license compliance, for well-known security bugs in library versions, or even in GitHub you have Dependabot to do basically the same work. In test automations, you already have unit testing, you probably have integration testing, you could have some kind of security testing or security scanning. So for example, if you want to automate the verification of the software from the outside, you could work with frameworks like WhatsApp. You could actually analyze the final artifact with container security, like registries analysis that the cloud offers, or you could translate this to the implementation pipeline with some security analysis like Ruby. And if you are creating your infrastructure with code, you could actually analyze that code to validate if your infrastructure is secure. Of course, it's not perfect, but this is something I recently discovered, that since I have the infrastructure in code, somewhere else, someone already was thinking about, okay, this is code. I could do a static analysis on this and validate if the infrastructure will be secure or not. And actually, you can. Right now, you could actually analyze the code to verify that your instance that you are deploying has some security concern, the registry has some security concern, so you could automate a lot of things. Security as code, you cannot automate. You have to decide, this will be my culture inside my team. I have to do a lot of compliance. This probably is, there is people better suited to explain how security compliance audit works. And finally, you have to implement some kind of real-time monitoring of detection with a specific software like Cloudware, some kind of WAF in your infrastructure, or well-known products like Falco or CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is quite good. It became famous because for other issue, but yeah, it is quite good. So that's pretty much it. That was my talk. So let me show you now how this could look into your team. As I said, there is a lot of tools involved. You don't have to use the same tools I use, but you probably want to use a different tool in the same framework because you want to do secure development for both worlds, the infrastructure world and the application world. So let me show you quickly. Okay. Let me go back to the presentation. Okay, this demonstration is quite simple. I have a pet project. This project is available in GitHub, so you could check it later. I basically have two modules, the Terraform configuration and the container image, which is a Java artifact. When the continuous integration process runs, it executes basically two kinds of deployments. The Terraform configuration will connect to Oracle Cloud in order to provision infrastructure to execute this application. And the container image will be delivered to Docker Hub because I wanted to have a different registry outside Oracle because it was fun for me to do and because it was easier. So I pushed the image to Docker Hub, and then on the deployment stage, this application will be executed inside an OCI container instance. If you had used or created infrastructure in the cloud, usually you go like this. You go into the dashboard, you create a container instance. This will trigger a wizard, but there is a lot of things to do, and eventually this becomes quite repetitive. So that's why we started to create infrastructure as code tools. So if compared to use these dashboards, you could be coding it. You basically could do it like the following. This is, again, just one tool, not the perfect one. The best one is the one I like, which is Terraform. So I basically describe here that I am going to create a network resource in which my application will be executed with a public and a private segment. I will create a Quarkus container, a Quarkus Cloud Native workload, which is basically a container instance, a managed service in Oracle Cloud, which will take the container, deploy it inside an Oracle Linux host, and boot this to the world. And finally, as I like my own domain, this will publish a registry, a DNS registry for this application to be available on the internet. So let me do a first test. Could you scan the following code and tell me what you get? Okay, at this time, it will say not found. The application is not there, and I have to automate the creation of it. So let's go back then to the Java world. This application is really simple. Who could tell me what is wrong with this code? It compiles because it doesn't have errors, but there is something wrong with this code. Exactly. I have dead code in this. This is not per se a security issue, but I am creating two string variables in there, and I am not using that. That is a code smell, and we don't want code smells in our code. You could automate the verification of these code smells by using some kind of static analysis tool. For example, I have a Spotbox in this project, and I could automate the verification of it. This makes part of the shift left principle. I have to automate the verification of these things. Probably I could also have a Sonar Cube server doing the same thing, but I wanted the cheapest option to do it. So there is a whole library dedicated to the dead code. And it basically told me, okay, you have dead code in here. Oh, sorry, I am in the wrong directory. DevSecOps, I have to be in the Quarkus one. Okay, that was wrong because I was in the wrong directory. Okay, it will start to execute the verifications of my project, do the compilation. It is Windows, but it is clear. I was preparing my IDE like 15 minutes ago, so I should trust. Okay, I am passing the test. The test should actually work. I know this is boring. It will be faster in a Linux machine, but okay, it will connect to the test. It passed the test. Everything is good on the code side, on the functionality part. But then a Spotbox will kick in. And a Spotbox should say, you have dead code in here. That's not good according to the rules you coded, and you should be aware that this is not good code. Okay, it failed. Okay, it says you have DLS that local store. Fine, I am doing the verification right in my machine, but let's suppose I have to go to the SouJava meetup and then I don't want to work anymore. I still want to push this to Git and see what happens and call it a day. So let me check my branch. Let me see if there are changes. Okay, everything's up to date. So let's now trigger the cloud part. let me see the branches. Okay, my demo is here. So I am creating a pull request. And I want to automate the summary with Copilot. This basically says, this already told me the error, It described the PR and told me you are introducing dead code. But I want to go to the meetup, so let's call it a day and create the pull request again. So what's the deal by doing DevSecOps? When I create the PR, there will be a GitHub action, a complete continuous integration and deployment implementation that will verify what's going on with my code, the same process I did on local. And actually, I could request a code review from Copilot to check if the AI finds something wrong with my application. And probably it will suggest a fix. It doesn't work all the times. I've tested this a couple of times. Sometimes it gets the error, sometimes it doesn't, but most of the times it does it. But the process itself is preventing me to do the merge. And actually, Copilot already detected you have dead code over there. Probably that is bad, and your application will not be secure, or at least it has code smells when you are coding this implementation. Copilot already detected this, but I still have a gatekeeper in the continuous integration process because the action is running right now. And actually, it already failed. Let me open the action to show you the sec part of the DevSecOps. So I executed the compilation and the test as I did in my host. It executed here, and the same spot box check that I executed in the local host executed on the cloud, and that prevented me to merge bad code. Copilot already detected that I have bad code and did the suggestions for me. So the wise thing to do right now is to remove the dead code and fix the code. So, okay, I am a good developer now. And I will commit it like that. I am a good developer. Okay, and the automation kicks again. So I am sure this is solved. I am sure this is also solved. And the same should happen again. The verification will be executed all the time because that's the whole idea of continuous integration. But the difference now is that my code is right, but I still want to preserve the security in the continuous integration. So I want to verify the security of the infrastructure and the security of the container that will be deployed on Oracle Cloud. I could do it manually with command line tools in my computer, but again, I automated this. So let's see how this process works. It should take a couple of minutes. It is faster than my machine, for sure. So right now, it is doing the verifications on the Java workloads. And note that after the building of the Docker image, I will scan the image for security issues. If you are already creating the image, you could have a lot of security errors, like using an old Linux image, using an old Java virtual machine, using secure less libraries in the distro you choose. So probably it is a good idea to also scan the image of the Docker workload you are going to deploy. I intentionally chose an old Java image in order to demonstrate how these scans work, but most of the time you should not get errors like the ones I am going to get, because I will get reports about which errors I have in this implementation. It takes some time, so when you have a lot of builds, you probably let this kind of deployments for the staging part. You could give freedom to the developers to code, and when this is going to stage, okay, let's do the full verifications. And this started to detect issues. So it says your Docker image has problems with cops, your Docker image has problems with free type, your Docker image has problems with expat. So you are creating an insecure image, and you could check why this is insecure. So it will go directly to the CVE database, one of the provided implementations. in the end, I have to decide this is secure or not. Probably no, but this is a demonstration. So let's not tell anyone that I coded this insecurely. But yeah, I configured this scam part in order to not stop. And okay, this warned me about the issues, but I decided consciously that this should go because I need to present some demo in SouJava. Okay, the image is ready. So Terraform did kind of the same. I want to show the contrary effect. I am connecting against Oracle Cloud. And in Oracle Cloud, I am doing the same kind of security scan. But this time I coded this consciously, and it says, I analyzed the Terraform project. This project is good and you don't have any security issues. So probably your infrastructure, which is, to be sincere, quite simple, should be fine to deploy. So right now the check is ready and you are ready to merge this to the main branch. What will happen then? I configured this pipeline to deploy only when the code reaches main. So it is a trunk-based development. It will take, again, a couple of minutes to deploy this to Oracle Cloud. And if everything goes right, you will see a workload when you do the QR scan again. If not, at least you have some fun, like watching these pipelines. But let's cross the fingers. So this is a good time to do questions while this executes. So I am not sure if you have questions.
Any questions from the audience while we do run this? I have a question from the online audience as well. Oh, do you have question? 2 questions? Okay, first there.
Hi, like you mentioned, sometimes Copilot does suggestions, sometimes not. So what is your recent experience using, if you had MCP context to improve it? Some sneak or some special Terraform or other MCP that can improve this power of AI?
Okay. In order to improve Copilot results, I basically found 2 ways of doing it. The first one is by setting a context. So when you say you create the GitHub Copilot instruction archive to have some guidelines of reviews that actually improves the reviews process of the PRs and the coding itself. The MCP part, to be sincere, on my team, most of the people use it to copy PRs. So for example, we have a product which has around 70 microservices, and some of these have common code, which is not the best. It should be a library, but that's life. So they discovered that by connecting the IDE via MCP to GitHub Copilot, they could actually improve. If this PR worked in one project, it is probably a good idea to copy it and adapt it to a new project, and that actually works. So the MCP itself, by executing the actions, but also to retrieve context for the code, not only by the current project, but as the organization as a whole, actually improves the code. I mean, it's not perfect, but yeah, for sure, if you implement the MCP, at least in my experience, it increases the context, the RAG part of Copilot, and actually creates better code and better reviews.
Cool. We have one more question here.
Hi, Victor. First of all, sorry for bad English. My question is, in my current job, there's a big separation between software developers and DevSecOps analysts. I am focused only on code and the DevSecOps on the pipelines, the automations, and what can a developer do to help the job of the DevSecOps? Because I'm questioning it, because the only 2 things that I know that a developer can do is not to unnecessarily deploy multiple applications, because it would overwhelm the server, if I can say it this way. And the other thing is to always use the template of projects when you create a new one, because if you do that, you guarantee that the configurations to this application will be the same every time. So if there's a problem and you come to the DevSecOps analyst, he will first of all check the configuration files and see if there's nothing wrong. So I know these two things that a developer can do to help the DevSecOps analyst. Is there any more else that we can do?
Yeah, it actually depends. Sorry, your English was right. My voice is not right now. Now, it depends on the team culture, I will say, because I've worked in teams like that. The team I work right now, there is a crucial difference. We do coding of, let's say, abstract infrastructure. So we create workloads, containers, deployment plans, and the infra team does the low-level infrastructure, networking, firewalls, monitoring. So that's how we divided the responsibility. They are in charge of the low-level implementation, and the software development teams like mine, we create our own infrastructure based on the infrastructure guidelines. So it's mostly about culture. The second things that I believe works is how the support rotation works, because when you have to be in support rotation, you actually decide to do better the infrastructure and the observability part, especially because eventually you will be supporting that application. So there is a discipline that I've seen mostly in American teams, but I think it's actually good, where they have support rotations and the developers are responsible for the support of the platform a couple of weeks every 2 months, 3 months, in order to give us the tools to improve not only the development process but actually the support process. Any team can do this, but it is mostly about how the software architect or IT manager decides that this is a good idea or not for the context you are working on. It actually depends on context. For the second part, I am actually inclined to do that because I see that creating these scaffolding projects helps to speed up the creation of new artifacts. And it's actually a suggested pattern in the microservices IO side. I don't remember the name of the pattern, but creating the scaffolding, it is actually useful because you kind of standardize how the archetype of your application should work. Probably if you have a repository with this archetype, you should be contributing PRs to that in order to improve the artifact as a whole. If not, probably it is a good idea to create a repository for the team members to include new improvements on the archetype, I will say.
Thanks.
Okay, I am running out of voice, so did it work for you?
You have a question?
Okay, it should work like this. It will show you the Fibonacci sequence. But, this has a surprise. This is a bad implementation of Fibonacci sequence. So if you increase the number, it will hang the container. You could play with this. I did it like this because I needed a way to do synthetic workloads and show that the CPU is getting loaded at this time. It will time out, but right now inside Oracle Cloud, all of the clicks I should have to do in order to create this infrastructure, I kind of saved it myself to do that because I coded the infrastructure. So let's go back to the instances. And I am closing the talk like that. So developer services, container instances. Okay, my new instance is there. You see, I tested a lot of this in order to give a good talk. And I could go to my container instance, which is the Quarkus Cloud Native deployment. I could check the container. And the container itself should be with a high CPU consumption. Yep, I am using a lot of CPU right now because I coded in a bad way the Fibonacci sequence. So this is the ops part. You have to use the tools on the cloud or create your own tools in order to diagnose what's going on with your workload. this demo is quite easy to be sincere or quite small for the scales we are talking about, but I hope for this to give you an idea how the modern software development with Java is working, a little bit about how infrastructure as code works, and finally, that the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps is not exactly just the sec, is creating the sec around all of the process. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Let me just ask if there's any last question we have from the audience, because our presenter is running out of voice, right? So we have one more question here.
Good night, Víctor. So I'm specifically, I am a mobile developer, but I have a deep interest related to infrastructure. So I would ask, in your opinion, what would be a good way so I could have a deeper learning about this world? Because at my work, it's a very separated squad and a team that I don't have a lot of contact with, so I could catch some knowledge and understand more deeply how our infrastructure works. And in your opinion, I believe that personal projects would be a good way to test and play with the tools, but normally would be able to see deeply the power of those tools, because personal projects would need this type of architecture. So I believe that the best way to learn would be playing with this, but in your opinion, should it has a path, a directional path that would be better to play and understand and learn more better those tools and the architecture ecosystem as a whole. That's it.
Okay, I will tell you my path. It should be different for everyone, but I think that a crucial knowledge you have to have in order to work in infrastructure is basic networking knowledge, because that's the basis of everything, and probably Linux. It doesn't matter which distribution, but I learned Linux by using Linux on daily basis. I was in college, I was working as consultant. That that sole action of using Linux on daily basis helping me to actually know how Unix works, how Unix administration works. As I said, it's different for everyone. It works like that for me. And when I wanted to go to the cloud, I did this because I was obligated to, because as I said, I was a Java architect, mostly focused on the old ways of doing things. And I faced a challenge about, we need to deploy this in a cloud provider. And I was thinking, okay, I will create a VPS and call it a day. Then I faced the dashboard and someone tell me, you have to create a VPC. What's a VPC? And you have to create the internet gateway, and the NAT gateway, this should be placed in different places in order to have the proper routing. And you have to create a route table. There is a wizard for this. There was a wizard, but then I faced a lot of issues. I basically failed a secure audit. So I eventually started to do the foundational course from Oracle because it was free. So that's how I started to learn clouds. I don't work exclusively with Oracle Cloud. I work a lot also with AWS. But yeah, these courses are quite good actually. So you have to take advantage of the certification. And for Terraform, that comes later. Once you have a good grasp about how the infrastructure works, you could probably explore infrastructure as code. There are a lot of other tools. There are tools more focused on programmers like serverless framework, like Pulumi. But I like Terraform because it works in multiple clouds. So that's why I kind of settled in Terraform. But yeah, that will be networking Linux, then go to a fundamentals course or at associate course at any cloud. Oracle Cloud is free, so you could do it there. And finally, you could explore Terraform then. And if you are able to use Terraform, you, to be sincere, you will be able to handle a lot of other tools in infrastructure.
Last questions? I have one more question. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Daniel here. I have interest in exploring like Terraform, but I feel like a little afraid of like instancing a lot of stuff on cloud that I didn't know that I was doing. Then I just, when I see it start like 20 instances, and that is like that would be like cost a lot of stuff, a lot of money on the cloud. Is like, if I just like trying to learn, I'd like to know if there's like a safe way that I can like explore infrastructure as a service, if I'll like directly go into cloud instance stuff, like testing and trying to.
Yeah. For example, in AWS, you have local stack. It doesn't have everything, but you could run a semi-cloud in containers directly. Terraform plays well with that. The other option, I am really more inclined to do it in cloud, but yeah, I had the same, I was worried about my credit card when I was doing this kind of things. So I started my own practice of not only creating the infrastructure, but also automating the destruction. So this is something quite standard in my repository. So my infrastructure is ready. I could, destroy it completely. So that's why I only use my infrastructure for a couple of hours, a couple of days at most. In this account, I have a lot of credits because of the Oracle ACE Pro program, but that was not always the case. So yeah, automate the destruction as well. That's actually a good idea.
Excellent. So yeah, I read on the Gemini. So how to say it? It's let's give a round of warm applause to our speaker, Víctor Orozco. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I love the examples, and it's running something. Oh, full destroy. Okay.
Yeah, I am destroying.
Okay, perfect. So, yep, that was our meetup. Every speaker here with us. I hope you enjoyed it. I just want to say goodbye to the online people that is watching us. So I'm not sure. I think the camera is there. Okay, thank you. So the camera is there. So thanks a lot for you that is watching us. I hope to see you in person here on the next event. So take if it's possible, if you are here in São Paulo, take your time and come here. You're gonna be not just doing the network here, but also have a lot of gifts today and every other event. We always bring something to the people here that join us. But yeah, I hope to see you next time. See you. Bye bye.